Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is Good Tuesday Newsday. We're going to cover all the good news you need to hear about this week to make you have hope in the world again, I guess. There's a lot of news we have about science and animals and just people doing good things and good things happen to good people, I hope. And this is Before Coffee, the father and daughter comprehensive news of Planet Earth podcast, where we look up our stories 10 to 15 minutes before we've started. We haven't had any caffeine and we just rolled out of bed. So let's get into today's headlines. Today on Good Tuesday Newsday, Breda becomes the first national park city in the Netherlands, and Bill Gates gives most of the $200 billion fund to Africa.
And this is Roger from the United States on Good Tuesday Newsday, where we're going to talk about the rights of the wild, 3 projects working to protect nature's silent citizen.
Our galaxy is likely to avoid a catastrophic collision in the next 5 billion years. Woohoo!
Woohoo! And more good news. Oh, when the people are complaining that your electric vehicle is draining the power grid when actually it's going to augment the power grid. We're going to talk about the ways to use your car as a power plant.
British feminism needs reshaping. Kate Nash on her new single about trans rights.
And it's National Repeat Day. I said it's National Repeat Day on June 3rd, 2025 on Before Coffee.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I didn't hear you the first time.
You funny.
We're actually going to repeat all of our stories today, so get ready to hear them twice.
We're actually going to repeat all of our stories today, so get ready to hear it twice.
All right, let's get started with our first segue today, which we will not be repeating, I hope. Multiple segues today.
Yeah, that's the thing that happens incidentally. We always get repeats on the wheel. There's so many choices, but they just go.
Why not another haiku? Okay, your first segue is a haiku. I do have 2 stories. This first one is pretty short, so get that pen writing. This is coming out of the Netherlands from Mark Fridge on National Park City. Breda has been recognized as the first national park city in the Netherlands, following an inspiring peer review process coordinated by the National Park City Foundation, with support from Salzburg Global and World Urban Parks. Breda National Park City is a grassroots movement of all the people in the city working on transforming Breda into a city within a natural park. Nature enthusiasts, gardeners, artists, entrepreneurs, vegetable growers, tree planters, in short, everyone who wishes to enhance urban biodiversity can participate. Breda's ambition is to become one of the most nature-rich cities in Europe by 2030, closely collaborating with the municipality of Breda, which shares the same goal with its urban planning policies. The first step towards its goal is recognition of the city's status as a national park city. We have been highly impressed by Breda in the National Park City team. Breda's National Park City journey is led by a highly skilled, enthusiastic, and committed team. Together they have a deep understanding of the city and its people and nature, and have ambitious plans to make Breda greener, healthier, wilder, and fairer. That's from Dan Raven Ellison, founder of the National Park City movement. Breda National Park City aims to nurture and expand people's connection with urban nature by inspiring each other with exemplary initiatives and beautiful projects, connecting initiatives to build a strong network and assisting starting initiatives on their journey. We have learned so much from the team at Breda National Park City in how they have used the National Park City story to inspire people to get involved across the city and bring together the many existing initiatives and groups that have been busy making Breda a place that's already well connected with nature. We're excited to see how Breda will inspire other Dutch cities to pursue National Park City status. This is from Mark Fridge, Executive Director of the National Park City Foundation. Recognition of Breda's National Park City status has been granted following a successful peer review process where organizers from established and nominated national park cities, along with invited experts from Adelaide, Chattanooga, London, and the Netherlands, reviewed the detailed plans and evidence submitted by the Breda National Park City campaign. National Park City status is formally recognized by the accrediting body, the National Park City Foundation, in conjunction with World Urban Parks and Salzburg Global Seminar. Breda is now the 4th city to be recognized as a National Park City, joining London in 2019, Adelaide in 2021, and Chattanooga in 2025, in securing the much coveted status. 9 other cities are currently on their journey to secure the National Park City status. I think a lot of the Dutch cities in general should be under this status because there are a lot of green Dutch cities. One of the most green. There's just, if you look at Amsterdam from above, it's just trees. You don't even know it's a city except for some of the buildings popping out. I'm actually really impressed with London. I wonder what part of London. It can't be the entirety of London. It must be like central London or London City, London, right? Those are the places that have been recognized as a national park. Because London is a big, sprawling city. You know, Greater London including. So, I'm curious where the national park city, the actual region of it
London.
that is that. And while I'm looking that up, you can give me
I
your
don't know. I don't know
haiku.
if England, the island itself has so much crown land that just belongs to the crown. So I don't know if they even need national parks, right? Anyway, my haiku. National parks rule. Personally touching grass can make you quite cool. It even rhymes.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Legitimately, as in cool. So yeah, there you are. Next story.
So I looked it up, and it looks like the London Borough. So I guess Central London is the place, right? That got signed on the charter as being.
And they have a borough.
Every London borough, so Central London, not Greater London, is not included in the National City Park.
They have one of those. They have one of those donkey-like pack meal. Borough.
Yeah. My next story is about Bill Gates giving most of his $200 billion Bill Gates Foundation fund to Africa. This is by John Shelton on DW. I don't know what DW stands for. What do you stand for?
DW?
Yeah.
Dead weight.
Dead weight. Why don't they give me a about us or something? Well, it's on DW.com. I'm sure they stand for something. I don't know what they stand for.
Derek Wilson. I don't know.
Bill Gates has urged African leaders to join him in advancing health and development on the continent. He says his foundation will partner with nations putting people's health first. U.S. billionaire Bill Gates on Tuesday, which is today, the 3rd of June, announced that the majority of his philanthropic Gates Foundation $200 billion or 175 billion euro endowment will be spent in Africa over the next 2 decades. Gates, who on May 8th said he would wind down the foundation by 2045, made the pledge while addressing African leaders in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. I recently made a commitment to my wealth will be given away over the next 20 years. The majority of that funding will be spent on helping you address challenges here in Africa, Gates said as he urged leaders to boost health and development through partnership and innovation. By unleashing human potential through health and education, every country in Africa should be on a path to prosperity, and the path is exciting to be part of, Gates told the government officials, diplomats, and health workers. Investing in primary healthcare has the greatest impact on health and well-being, he said. With primary healthcare, what we've learned is that helping the mother be healthy and have great nutrition before she gets pregnant, while she is pregnant, and delivers the strongest results. Ensuring the child receives a good nutrition in the first 4 years as well makes all the difference. U.S. businessman philanthropist Gates singled out Ethiopia, Mozambique, Nigeria, Rwanda, Zambia, and Zimbabwe as examples of countries that his mind showed strong leadership fostering innovation. He did not comment on allegations of authoritarianism and right abuses against the governments of, for example, Ethiopia and Rwanda. Hey, I'm not here to talk politics. I'm here to give people some free money that they totally won't use corruptly. Our foundation has an increasing commitment to Africa, Gates said. Our first African office was here in Ethiopia about 13 years ago. Now we have offices in South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, and Senegal. That's a great way for us to strengthen partnerships. Gates' pitch comes amid the halts to U.S. foreign aid on the advice of convicted felon Donald Trump's donor and budget oversight advisor Elon Musk. What do we call him again? Apartheid Clyde here, the world's richest man, who bragged off richest rich on his stocks. He doesn't have a lot of money, he just has stock options. Who bragged of feeding U.S. aid to the wood chipper. Yeah, let's just get rid of aid for people. Yep. We have so much money, let's keep it all for ourselves. That's what I'm doing. I don't see the problem there.
Ketamine Karen, we can call him too.
Ketamine Karen. A recent study in the medical journal The Lancet projected that the cuts to the American spending on PEPFAR, the program to deliver HIV and AIDS relief abroad, could cost the lives of 500,000 children by 2030. They're just black children, though, so who cares about them? They're not us white children. Elon Musk, famously a eugenicist. The journal Nature suggested a sustained halt to USAID funding could result in some 25 million additional deaths for the 15 years. That's a lot of people. The Gates Foundation has invested heavily in projects aimed at reducing childhood and maternal deaths, advancing progress on vaccines for infectious disease such as malaria or HIV, as well as lifting poor populations out of poverty. The foundation claims that it has contributed more than 100 innovations that have saved more than 80 million lives, citing a partnership with Gavi, the Global Fund to Fight AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria. Woohoo! Yeah, let's get rid of those. No one should be suffering from AIDS, tuberculosis, or malaria anywhere on this planet. If we can do it in one country, we can do it in all countries. Gates says the rich should do more philanthropy. Gates, who made his fortune with computer software company Microsoft and started the Gates Foundation with his ex-wife Melinda, has urged other wealthy individuals to spend their money on humanity, not just on their personal possessions, because those are all just going to go bad and break anyways. When recently asked by the New York Times about why he's donating his fortune to he first said, it makes a big difference to take the money and spend it on new verses later, pointing to the impact on development in agriculture and AI. What am I going to do? He added, just go buy a bunch of boats or something? Go gamble? This money should go back to the society in the way that has the best chance of causing something positive to happen. And I do think good examples influence other people. I think the rich people today could do more philanthropy. We had some examples of that, and I think the rich people 20 years from now should do more. While in Africa, Gates will also meet with Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, Nigerian President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, talk about AI, healthcare reform, and their respective countries. So there's your insights on Africa, and hopefully this money can go for good causes and not be lost, you know? That's always scary when you give a fund. People are all clamoring to get some of that money, and a lot of them not for a good reason. So he has to be very, very, not accurate, I guess unscrutable when it comes to deciding who is getting this fund of 200 billion. I think this year, I think it's not all his, maybe that's his entire fund. The entire fund of the Bill Gates Foundation is 200 billion total in the until 2045 when he'll close it down, I guess.
Well, if it's anything like the Smithsonian Institute, it just constantly generates its own money because it's in a trust fund, right? And you can only you got money sitting around in millions of dollars. It isn't just doing nothing. It's gathering some kind of interest.
It's gaining more from it and stuff.
Even if it's 1%, it's a lot of money. Anyway.
Give me a haiku.
Haiku. Bill Gates is Gates with a, apostrophe. Bill Gates' own window is now wide open for gifts for needy nations.
Needy because of us, to be fair. Well, I say us. Colonialism.
Because Windows is the operating system that Microsoft does. Oh, fun there. Anyway. Now for the wheel, I guess.
Yep.
Time
for a reminder. Wait, it's on the cusp. Which one was it? It reminds me of a song. Okay, I was like, right on remind me of the song, but it could have been the other one.
We got 3 stories for a price of 1. So I don't know if you want to do 3
That's
different
3 songs, I guess.
Song.
I better start thinking of songs.
This is from Positive.news. Robin Eveli. Positive.news is my only source today. So this is about Rights of the Wild. 3 more projects working to protect nature's silent citizens. Challenging the dominance of human supremacy, these movements... I gotta do something about this. Camera. All right. Camera. Okay. Is that better? You still see me? Okay. Challenging human supremacy, these movements urge us to rethink our relationships with the more than human world. Okay, let's start the story. What would change if forests, waterways, and wildlife were recognized as more than just resources? The idea has been debated ever since Professor Christopher Stone posited in the 1972 issue of the Southern California Review that trees should have Southern California Law Review, that trees should have legit rights, legal rights. The concept is now gathering pace, with advocates calling for more than human world to be granted legal protection, a voice in decision-making, and even recognition for its creativity. Is this slow revolution finally coming of age? Let's check in. Part 1 is Challenging Human Supremacy. Founded by Cosmo Sheldrake's co-conspirator Cesar Rodriguez Garavito, a legal scholar who heads up New York University's Earth Rights Advocate Clinic, Moth's vision is rooted in simple but transformative idea that humans are not separate from nature, but deeply interconnected with it. Working across, we're special, don't you?
Yeah, we just don't affect the Earth at all. We're just over here doing nothing. Yeah. What the hell?
Bird flu, that's only killing birds. That can't affect me. Anyway, working across law, science, and the arts, Moth partners with legal scholars, indigenous leaders, writers, and musicians to challenge the dominance of human supremacy and rethink our relationship with a more than human world. There's a big old picture of a tree. Moth's vision is rooted in a simple but transformative idea that humans are not separate from nature, but deeply interconnected with it. Los Cedros Cloud Forest. Oh, that's a picture caption. Never mind. Initiatives include working with Project CETI, the Cretation Translation Initiative, which is pairing robotics with AI in a Dr. Dolittle-like effort to translate the sounds of sperm whales with a robust legal and ethical framework in situ. It doesn't take a huge leap to imagine how collapsing the barrier between human and animal communication could be open to abuse, which is where Moth comes in. In the Brazilian Amazon, Moth is working with the journalist outlet Samama to tell stories from the more than human perspective. In Ecuador, is using data from underground fungal ecosystems to back the Sarayaku Nation's battle with oil and mining developments. So there's the first portion of this. If you want a song, you got a song about that? If not, we can move on.
Oh, here we go.
Okay.
Let me. I gotta do the voice because I don't even know if I can do the voice. I don't know if I can go that low. I see trees of green, red roses too.
You trying to do Louis Armstrong? All right.
Oh, me and you. I have to push my thumb into my larynx to do that voice. What a Wonderful World by Louis Armstrong.
All right, Satchmo.
Hurt my throat a little bit there, but hey.
Yeah, we gotta put Louis Armstrong on the wheel when we spin it. Louis Armstrong voice.
You want me to do that for whole story? I don't think so.
Harry.
I'll lose my voice.
All right, okay, now on to the next story. Hopefully, maybe we can get us a song by who's a good artist to sing that? Dolly Parton, maybe. Anyway, this is about fungi. Working to give fungi the same status as flora and fauna. I know them. Anyway, the Fungi Foundation. This is what it's called, the name of the story. Deep beneath our feet lies an intricate web of life that keeps our planet thriving. Fungi. These unsung heroes make up the second largest kingdom of organisms on the planet. They recycle nutrients, sequester carbon, connect forests, and hold undiscovered potential for medicine and a sustainable solution. Yet in the realms of conservation and environmental protection, they remain largely overlooked. Enter the Fungi Foundation, or FF, a pioneering non-profit that is working to get these organisms the recognition they deserve. Founded in 2012 by another of Sheldrake's collaborators, Giuliani Furky, the FF started with a bang by getting the Chilean government to include fungi in its environmental regulations. Here's a picture of the young lady pointing at some mushrooms. Founded in 2012 by another Sheldrake collaborators, Giuliani. Okay, that's a picture. More recently, its focus has been on fauna, flora, fungi initiative that it aims to write this neglected kingdom into the policy frameworks. October saw FF conservation pledge to COP16 or 16, sorry, COP, I don't know what that means. October saw FF collaborate with UK and Chilean governments to bring its fungal conservation pledge to COP16. I guess that's some convention or something. It's successfully lobbied with the National Geographic Society to include fungi in its definition of wildlife alongside plants and animals. The integration of fungi into the narrative of conservation both deepens our understanding of ecosystems and invites us to consider our collective responsibility towards these often overlooked organisms and the vital processes they oversee, says Furky. You have a song about fungi.
White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane. It's about taking some fungi and having a fun time, I think.
Yeah, you just took some kind of mushrooms. That's right. And don't forget the hookah. Don't forget the hookah smoking caterpillar. Don't forget him. You just dropped some acid and you're taking yourself a trip.
And you've just had some kind of mushroom and your mind is moving low. Go out to Alice. I think she'll know.
That's right. That's right. Yep. That song is definitely not about dropping acid. It's definitely about Alice in Wonderland. Can't possibly be about both. Anyway, number 3 story of this is the rights of rivers. We talk about this a lot, especially all your series on the Thames. A world where rivers is not just water courses, but living entities with legal rights. It's already happening. More than 100,000 organizations from more than 20 countries have signed up for the Rights of Rivers Declaration. Well, it's about damn time. River, that's a good place to dump our sewage. That's what most cities think. Last September saw the Bio River become the first ecosystem in Chile to be granted a Declaration of Rights, affirming its right to flow. It says I found a typo. It says flow, F-O-W. Affirming its right to flow freely and sustain the health of surrounding ecosystems. The win follows years of campaigning by indigenous Mapuche communities and environmental groups who hope to shield the river from hydropower projects that threaten its biodiversity. More than 100, that's another picture caption. In the UK, Lewes District Council made history last year when it agreed to develop the rights charter for the River Ouse, O-U-S-E, I think that's how it's pronounced. So there's your thing. There's your deal. There's your clear rights of rivers. I'm not sure if that story was even long enough to register a song in your head.
That was really short. I couldn't even think of a song that quick.
I know. I can sing a song. That reminds me of The River by Joni Mitchell.
There you go. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the help.
even though the song's about a frozen river, well, she wished the river was frozen so she could skate away on it. Anyway.
Okay.
Only Canadians can think of a river and go, boy, I wish that river was frozen. Like anybody
name every lake in the U.S.
Rivers freeze? Really? Yeah, they do.
And good morning, Omlin and Rake. Thank you for stopping by for Before Coffee. And let's roll our wheel for our next story. If I can find it, there it is. I found it.
guess we could call it a round coffee. What's the segue?
Alliteration headline for my story about... Where's my story? There it is. Our galaxy is not going to get crushed by the Andromeda Galaxy. Yay!
Oh, no.
This is from
And I was
Dr.
gonna have the more
Alfredo.
tea.
That's right, his name's Alfredo Carpinetti on IFL Science. IFL Science. The Milky Way and the Andromeda galaxies are traveling toward each other. This is a fact that we have known for a long time. Over the decades, estimates of the speed and simulations have suggested the two are going to collide within 5 billion years. Mark that on your calendar. But new research argues quite the opposite. The team found that there's about a 50% chance that the two galaxies will miss each other in the next 10 billion years. A major merger is a collision between galaxies of roughly the same size. The end result is usually an elliptical galaxy, hardly resembling progenitors, especially if there were spiral galaxies like the Milky Way and Andromeda. The process is slow, so stars do not start smashing into one another, but many changes take places. New stars form, and supermassive black holes get active thanks to gas being thrown towards the core. The Milky Way-Andromeda merger had been a given for a very long time. The two galaxies are moving toward each other at 100 kilometers or 61 miles per second, but they are not alone in space. Both are surrounded by dwarf galaxies, the largest of which is the Triangulum, which is orbiting Andromeda. Its previous work, a simulation look at the motion of Andromeda, Triangulum, and the Milky Way to predict the future. However, that might not be enough. New research used data from the Hubble and European Space Agency's Gaia to include the motion of the large Megalithic Cloud, LMC. This is the Milky Way's largest satellite, visible to the naked eye in the southern hemisphere. The latest data show how much is affecting the motion of the Milky Way. Oh, so it's pulling on us like the moon pulls on the tides. When we tried to start from the same assumptions as previous researchers to recover the same results, lead author Dr. Twil Sawala of the University of Helsinki said in a statement, "We've simply been able to explore a much larger space of possibilities, taking advantage of new data. While some earlier works have focused on the interaction between the Milky Way, Andromeda, and the Triangular Galaxy, we also include the effect of the LMC. Including the LMC in over 100,000 simulations of the system allowed them to create new visions for the future. In half of them, the Milky Way and the Andromeda have a close encounter, losing enough orbital energy to eventually collide, but in most cases, that takes place in the next 8 to 10 billion years, so I don't think we're going to be there for that. In only 2% of the cases, the collision happens within...
Mark your calendars.
Yeah, exactly. With 5 billion years, though it's almost certain that the Milky Way and the LMC will merge within the next 2 billion years. So that's really what the next thing we need to be looking forward to is our satellite becoming part of us. Although its mass is only about 15% of the Milky Way, its gravitational pull directly perpendicular to the orbit with Andromeda perturbs the Milky Way's motion enough to significantly reduce the chance of a merger with the Andromeda Galaxy, Dr. Sawala explained. And while earlier studies only consider the most likely value for each variable, we ran many thousands of simulations, which allowed us to account for all observational uncertainties. In about half the cases, the dwarf galaxies' interaction set the larger galaxies on a safer path, so the pull of the LMC pulled away the galaxies from each other, at least for the next 10 billion years. In any case, the sun would have turned into a white dwarf by then, and the solar system might be radically different at that point. As in, it will be a different situation. We might not even be here, but when the sun changes into a white dwarf, it's gonna have a weaker. The thing about the sun is it gets weaker and weaker and weaker until it explodes into a black hole, or goes supernova. It condenses, right? So if the sun were to get weak enough to not be able to provide any more heat to our planet, we probably would die. But this is good news, Newsday. The good news is our galaxies won't collide together in a brilliant explosion in space. These results are significant for the fate of our galaxy. It's used to appear destined to merge with Andromeda, forming a colossal Milkomedia. Now there's a chance that we could avoid this fate entirely. Professor Alice Deason of the Durham University Institute for Computational Cosmology added. Computational cosmology. That's a degree. Team is upfront about the remaining uncertainties. While the Gaia mission ended this year, its data will take several more years to be fully analyzed. Thanks to that, simulations of the local group of galaxies can be made more accurately, and the future of the Milky Way can be worked out with more certainty. And the study for what they found was published in Nature Astronomy. So if you want to read about the whole study and all the science and the cosmology they went into, check it out in the Nature Astronomy Journal. And there you go. Good news. We are not going to have a wrestling match with the Andromeda Galaxy in 10 billion years.
All right. Woohoo! Have a party. Where's Homer? Do the woo alarm.
A lonely Milky Way party. Only Milky Way invited.
Right. None of the other planets are invited, right? Okay, so your headline is a two-part alliteration. Scary space stuff, galaxy going, gone.
That's a lot of G's.
Right.
Well, the going, gone is a little of a cheat, but...
Oh, it isn't? That's a very famous saying. Very good. Anyway, all right.
Famous alliteration, one could say.
But I got 4 out of it, so it doesn't really cheat. So.
All right, for the next story, a hypothetical.
Hypothetical. Well, this is more than real. Well, actually,
this is a 13-minute story, supposedly, so get comfortable.
Right. Yeah, hypothetically, we can borrow the sun hypothetically. And it's a virtuous spiral. This is from positive.news, Martin Wright. This is about turning your car into a power plant. That's right. It's a virtuous spiral, and it's just beginning. Electric vehicles, mini power plants. That's right. The grid is struggling, and the rise of EVs will only add to the pressure. Thanks to these vehicles' potential as energy storage plants, however, they could be part of the solution. We've all heard it, the phrase trotted out with deadening familiarity by green skeptics. Solar and wind are all very well, but what happens when the breeze doesn't blow or the sun doesn't shine? Have you thought of that, eh? Yeah, that's why we make batteries, folks. For anyone who believes that the renewable energy revolution, for anyone who believes in the renewable energy revolution, it's a frustrating comment, but it contains more than a grain of truth because while increasingly cheap and efficient, wind and solar are undeniably intermittent. They don't provide so-called baseload electricity, always on, 24/7, in the same way that conventional power plants can. Conventional power plants cut power too. Anyway, that's a problem, as electricity is notoriously hard to store. Ideally, you can balance supply and demand, hence the appeal of baseload gas, coal, or nuclear plants, which can be brought into play to match demand. Hence, love his word hence and however, hence also the need to pay wind generators to turn off their turbines when excess supply is being produced. Around 100,000 pounds spent per hour in the UK alone. Large battery banks are coming on stream, but they're expensive and have limited capacity. Everything has limited capacity.
Yeah, I mean,
that's why it's called
imagine having an infinite capacity battery. We would have solved all the mysteries of physics and science right there.
Of course, limited capacity. Limited capacity is one of those terms that is redundant because capacity itself signifies that it's limited, right?
Yeah.
Anyway. As renewables share a electricity generation soars, wind and solar together account for 28% of European production, so does the change of balancing that intermittency with the demands of the grid. All this too at a time when growing pressure to decarbonize power supplies in order to hit climate targets. For Europe in particular, that means shifting away from using gas, oil, heater buildings, and petrol or diesel to drive our cars. Instead, we need to electrify our transport and heating, which means massively increase electricity consumption. So, the only thing that's driving electricity consumption is cryptocurrency. That's the thing that's draining our freaking power grid. But hey, let's pick on green energy. That's an easy target. Some estimates predict that the share of energy produced by electricity could be doubled by 2050. That seems pessimistic, I would think. That's still 25 years from now. And climate targets necessitate that all this electricity be produced in a green way as in as green a way as possible. That includes hydro and some would say nuclear, but crucially, more and more wind and solar. Electric vehicles are a key driver of the demand surge. Despite the talk of a backlash against them, sales continue to grow. Across Europe, EV sales are up 34% in 12 months to January 2025. Even as the overall car market shrinks, in the UK, more than a quarter of car sales are now more electric, and surveys show that more than half of British drivers say their next car will be an EV. Imagine it's happening. A newsletter, that's an ad. That at least sounds like wonderful news for the climate. Here we are, well on our way to decarbonizing motor transport. Except for the inconvenient fact that all those EVs need charging, putting more demand on a stressed out grid. One of the most popular times for charging is the early evening, which happens to coincide with peak demand for electricity across the board. Put like that, the rapid growth of EVs suddenly looks less like a feature of a green power system and more like a bug. This could put electric cars on a collision course with climate aspirations, except for one much more convenient fact. Our electricity that goes into an EV battery can be exported out of it again. A rapidly growing fleet of EVs could provide vehicle-to-grid potential on a scale that was unimaginable a few years back. EVs have surprisingly chunky batteries, explains Dr. Femke Nijs. His name is spelled Nijsse. Senior lecturer in innovation, energy, and climate at the Global Systems Institute of the University of Exeter, or the GSIUE. Anyway, acronym. I just like acronyms. A typical EV battery could power up to your house for 3 days, she says, adding that their capacity up to 20 times with typical home battery systems such as a Tesla Powerball. This helps turn a problem, more demand on the grid from EVs, into a solution, a rapidly growing fleet of distributed energy storage plants providing vehicle-to-grid potential on a scale that was unimaginable a few years back. Well, no shit, Sherlock. You should have figured this out to start with, right? And a 2023 study published by Nature Communications suggested that short-term grid storage needs across much of the world could be met in full by EV batteries, both in cars and at the end-of-life stage when they can still function as mini storage plants. Startup Volfag, for instance, has been pioneering this approach for several years. And there's a huge picture right in the middle of the story. Sounds too good to be true? Well, there are some significant hurdles to overcome, says Nijsse. Two are identical. One is economic. First, the battery has to be capable of bi-directional charging, able to both take on electricity and export it. Second, the local electricity system needs to have a complementary ability to send power to and fro in just the right amount and the right times to balance the grid. Third, a market mechanism needs to be present to make it worthwhile for both EV owners and grid operators. Fortunately, progress is underway in all three areas. The technical side is, relatively speaking, the easy bit, explains Alex Schuch, head of his name is Schuch, S-C-H-O-C-H. Great names in this article. Head of flexibility at the UK-based Octopus Energy. The rise of rooftop solar means that the provision for households to export the grid is already widely in place for both Britain and Europe. Every major brand of car manufacturer now has vehicle-to-grid firmly in their sights. As to the tech needed for the cars themselves, if you ask me, that 2 years ago I've said it was still a challenge, but now across Renault, Ford, Kia, Hyundai, BMW, VW, every major brand car manufacturer, whether EV only or legacy automaker, now has vehicle to grid firmly in their sights. There's one remaining technical wrinkle, is that only about half of the cars so equipped are able to convert the electricity they produce from DC to AC to start using households. You just buy an inverter. It don't cost that much. It's less than $100. I don't even know why that's even an issue. Buy an inverter. Jesus. Wow, problem solved. Anyway, without it, Shosh explains the conversion kit has to be installed separately in the home itself. Yeah, if you're converting it for all of your household needs, yeah, you need a conversion kit, which is basically the same. It's an inverter. It takes DC and it converts it to pulsating DC, and your equipment thinks it's, It pulsates a negative wave, then a positive wave, negative wave, positive wave, negative wave. And that's what it does. It's basically the same as AC. Nothing to it. Nothing really even complicated. It doesn't even have to be plugged in, basically. It just has to have the electricity supplied by the actual vehicle itself. Anyway. Without it, Shosh explains, a conversion kit has to be installed separately in a home step. A typical example is a Quasar 2, a wall-mounted box that's the size of a large Atlas, which stores the electricity and converts from DC to AC. It costs around $5,000. I don't know why it would cost that much.
Wow. You know what? Sometimes I think people raise the prices so that they make it, what is it called? Artificial scarcity, right? Wow, nobody can afford this, so I'm special because I made it really expensive, so no one can have this but the really rich people, you know?
I would have to say it would have to be expensive because you're basically making a giant heat sink. You got to make it because you're converting power, and that conversion of power creates heat. So you have to have a big heat sink on it or a big fan.
And,
heat
and
sink
a reminder, the one kind of thing humanity cannot get over is heat loss, right? Because heat is how we use energy, and we have not been able to create a system in which we can generate heat and use all of that heat for energy.
And power is a measurement of heat. Actually, it does create a certain amount of heat. Just put things, get them more powerful. You lose a lot of power just from the heat being generated.
Yeah.
A VHS versus Betamax. It's a VHS versus Betamax today for anybody that remembers any of that, which that was the original videotape machines, and VHS won over Sony's Betamax. I had to explain that because that's really an ancient, what do you want to call it, metaphor. It's the VHS versus Betamax debate, simile, I should say. So suggesting that onboard conversion will likely emerge as the winner as it keeps things simple for the householder. Yeah, onboard conversion is the only way to do it. You don't have to buy a bunch of extra shit for your house. Vehicle to grid could both keep the balance of grid and save EV owners even more money. As the grid's ability to absorb this additional power, the advantages of having massively increased the amount of energy storage on hand is rapidly driving the innovation needed. A trial conducted by the UK's National Grid in partnership with the Octopus proved that the V2G could both help the balance of the grid and save EV owners money thanks to a discount on their charging fees. It found that if all 10M EVs anticipated to be in service, I guess it's 10 million EVs anticipated to be in service in 2030 were involved in grid balancing, it would save around £100 million per year in overall system costs, some of which could be used to reward participating EV owners. And this goes on a little bit longer. As to the overall impact of V2G on the energy landscape, it could be a fourfold win, according to a new study from professional services firm EY. V2G can slash the total cost of ownership for EV owners, provide grid balancing solutions, reduce energy system costs, and help accelerate renewable energy adoption. Together, these could amount to a positive tipping point, one that tips the balance in favor of both electrical mobility and renewable energy. The more this new landscape takes shape, the more striking the benefits will be, concludes the gist. As the grid works more efficiently, it can make use more renewables, he said. So electricity becomes cheaper, then EVs become more attractive, so then more are deployed, and thanks to learning by doing economies of scale, the price then goes down. It's a virtuous spiral, and it's just beginning. There's your story, your extremely long story on turning your electric vehicle into a power station.
It's really important, this kind of stuff, because we also are using batteries to store wind energy and solar energy. So the better the battery technology gets, the more useful we can use this other, because all this energy is kind of storing energy, right? Mm-hmm. We don't have a lot of energy. Before now, all of our energy was just straight send it out, you know. We're not storing it, we're sending it straight out. Maybe it's transformed, right? A transformer. Lose some of it there.
Mm-hmm.
So, really good to get in a hypothetical situation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, what would we do if we had a battery with unlimited capacity?
I don't know.
I mean, just like
yeah,
a little.
But the sun.
Yeah, like we would have a little mini sun, you know. I feel like what you would do is you'd have like you know how a lot of places are built around churches, especially in Europe, right? You're built around a church. You just have towns built around this little mini sun, right? Hey, we have to go touch the sun. I mean, in a way, that's kind of what magic is, right? Magic is always this kind of unbelievable, unlimited power that doesn't seem to, you know, drain anything or come out of anywhere. Though there's plenty of games, video games that, you know, look at the idea that what if magic is actually draining the planet and you probably shouldn't be using it. But that's what our energy is doing in a way. It is magical. The magic of electricity.
Right on.
Okay, let's roll our next segue for the culture segment here. Gonna talk about trans rights because it is Pride Month for anybody out there who doesn't know. I'm sure everyone's talking about it, so if you don't know about it, I don't know how you missed it. I don't know how you missed that it's Pride Month. All right, this story is coming from Catherine Bromwich on The Guardian.
Do we
British
spin the wheel?
Feminism
Spin the wheel.
and Kate Nash.
Go.
Your wheel roll is... Yes, calm down. I was waiting for the wheel to finish rolling.
Oh, okay.
It's another hypothetical, or we can roll again.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, this is fine. Hypothetical.
Okay. In Kate Nash's new single, released last week, the 37-year-old musician and actor has coined a new acronym, GERM. Girl Exclusionary Regressive Misogynist. In the lyrics, she states, "You're not a radical, you're not rad at all. And that using feminism to erase the rights of others and endanger them is inherently unfeminist." It arose from Nash seeing trans exclusionary feminists, known as TERFs, as something of a misnomer. Those who espouse gender-critical views are, in her opinion, neither radical nor feminist. They're just sticking to the misogyny that they've always lived in under the patriarchy. The song was written in response to last month's Supreme Court ruling in the UK of the legal definition of a woman must be based on biological sex, a judgment that doctors at the British Medical Association have called scientifically illiterate. You know it's bad when the doctors are like, "Oh, so you can't fucking read." I have a lot of trans people in my life that I care about, Nash tells Catherine on the day the track is released. This feminist trans debate is not a debate to me. A friend of mine was the victim of a hate crime last year. I took the ruling very personally. She says the time felt right for her to speak out. The LGBTQIA community supports women so much that they have been there for me in my life and career. That's why I think cis women really owe it to trans people to step up at this moment. This song is for that community. Hell yeah, I'm always standing up for trans people. All of them, including the trans men too. Within hours of the song going live, Nash was trending on Twitter. On the one hand, Nash was praised by the community advocates and allies for showing support for trans people at a time when their rights are being eroded. A lot of queer community have been really grateful, says Nash. I've received some beautiful messages about what it means when there's so much uncertainty, fear, and loss of confidence for a lot of trans people. That's been really moving. On the other hand, gender-critical voices online suggest Nash was enabling abusers by calling trans women to be admitted into single-sex spaces. Nash finds the accusation absurd. Critiquing different ideologies is important, she says, but there's a difference between critical thinking and what's happening in this debate. I'm really open to nuanced conversations. I was preparing myself for this really amazing argument that stitches me up in a big gotcha moment, but all the insults are calling me old, a bint, a slag, and a has-been. I'm shocked at how juvenile and misogynistic the comments are. If you're not young and beautiful, you don't deserve to have an opinion, says another woman who's 40 years old. Shut up then.
Whoa.
Shut up then if you believe that. Why are you speaking? This is a man's space, right? Only men are allowed to have opinions. Or young and beautiful 20-year-olds. Nash is aware.
that argument. I
Yeah.
would use that argument against MAGA women that
Yeah.
want to argue that they're old. I was like, well, why should I listen to your second-class opinion?
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
I don't care what you have to say.
consider yourself.
You're not a man.
It isn't that I consider you a second-class citizen. It's that you yourself do. So
Why does your
don't
opinion
have to
matter
listen to
to
you.
me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Germ, Nash is aware, is another insult now added into the mix. I'm taking my autistic liberty there as a musician. I can be highbrow and I can be lowbrow, but I also do think it's important for feminists to voice that transphobia is not feminist. So I stand by it. She is ready for the inevitable backlash. I've been trolled since I was 18. Bring it on. I'm okay with whatever insults people want to throw at me. I can handle it. I'm not going to be as difficult as what a trans person is having to go through at this moment. She hopes the song encourages others to speak up despite it being such a divisive subject. I hate that it's divisive. It's like, let people live. No, we can't let them live. It affects me 0% of my life. It feels like a scary thing to voice because it's a hot topic. But as a musician, you can make something that's quite fun and catchy and a little bit empowering. Nash has long been an advocate for women's rights, calling herself a feminist in interviews since she started releasing witty, acerbic songs in the mid-2000s before Taylor Swift and Beyonce made the term a pop culture concern. She is worried that the label has been hijacked by a gender-critical group who are very vocal and very organized, and that resources would be better spent finding solutions to the more pressing problems faced by women, such as sexual violence and femicide, who are yet again caused by men. That's right, everyone. Thank you. I mean, I'm just saying. They're so angry at trans women when trans women are not murdering them and committing a sexual assault, which occur overwhelmingly at the hands of men. Yes. Taking away the rights of vulnerable people who are not a threat is obviously the wrong thing to be doing, she says. I'm not willing to trample on people that have less autonomy over their bodies and less safety in the world than me in order to protect myself. I do not think cis women are more important or better than trans people. Nash also made headlines earlier in the year by announcing she was selling photos on OnlyFans to help subsidize her tour. This was done in part to make a serious point about the ways that music industry is failing artists, especially those from working class backgrounds. Also, let's be honest here, if you're anti-sex, why are you in music industry? They basically make you be a prostitute on stage, so I'm just saying, right? Oh no, I'm not gonna sell my photos on OnlyFans and make money, but let me get half naked on stage. This was done in part to make a serious point about the way the music industry is failing artists, especially those from working class backgrounds. Artists can't make money from touring, and they can't make money from recording music. Nash explains that touring comes with a whole raft of costs, such as renting a tour bus, paying for a band and crew, food, petrol houses, hotels. Streaming was built unethically from the start, she says, with major labels and streaming services defining the terms and conditions without the artist's say, right? Yeah, we'll take 10 cents. Yeah, that sounds good. Hello, what money do I get for making the art? 0. Oh, you thought you were going to make money? No, you sold your rights to us. And now you don't own anything. Thank you. We're going to make all the money. And not updating pre-streaming contracts to reflect the new reality. Who you listen to is where your money directly goes, and I don't think that's right. The way the music industry has been structured historically has been exploiting artists, and we've been exploited yet again. Nash has personal experience with the shadier side of business. Her former manager misappropriated large amounts of her money during the mid-2010s, and that's why you have to make sure you trust your manager. I mean, there's a reason a lot of people's managers are their parents, but even then, your parents can backstab you and steal all your money. You just can't trust anyone, man. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They reached an out-of-court settlement in order to fix that problem. During a lengthy legal battle, Nash had to move back in with her parents. It was a really difficult thing for me to experience, she said. But overall, I think it's informed me, and I feel capable of speaking on issues like this now. I feel really empathetic to artists. It's made me aware how toxic the environment is. The decision to sell her pictures online drew criticism because everyone always has an opinion on what you do with your body. with people accusing Nash of being a bad influence on young girls. Those young girls are probably also already on OnlyFans. Maybe not children, right? But like, there's a lot of 20-year-old girls who end up just getting roped up in an OnlyFans bracket because they literally can't figure out another way to make money. And it's one of the easiest ways girls have to make money because everyone from a young age is already consuming their bodies. They're already objectifying them, even as 13-year-olds. So it's like really easy just to flip that switch into, hey, now you have to pay me money to look at that instead of just getting it for free. Fuck you guys. If you're going to objectify me, I'm going to make money off of it. I fought my entire career for young women. Representation is extremely important to me. The photos were also a way of taking control of her sexuality. As an actor on the Netflix series Glow, I've been naked on TV, she says. I've simulated a threesome. I've used my body all of the time on stage to move, to sing, and to connect with an audience. But if I'm completely in control of it, that's wrong? Is it wrong? Our bodies are politicized, and the world has an opinion about how to prevent us from being able to make choices about them. Oh no, it's okay that you're rolling around naked on stage because a man gave you permission. Aha! Once you're doing it without their permission, that's the problem. Last weekend, Nash premiered Germ at the Mighty Hoopla Festival along with London Philanthropic Orchestra. Later this month, she will headline Glastonbury's Left Field stage on the Saturday night. She's excited to play the song in front of an audience. I think that will be quite a exciting moment in the set. Nash is undeterred by the internet noise and the song has caused. I mean, sure, attack me online, but I'm still right here. She said, but I'm still right. I wanted to leave a record in the musical history of a feminist who is outspoken as a cis woman. This is my opinion. I don't want the loudest cultural voices in the room to be anti-trans. That is not what feminism has taught me. So there you go, your inspirational Suck It to the Haters song from Kate Nash. I guess go listen to it all June for Pride Month, and you know, let everyone know you are not a germ, you're not a turf, and you respect trans women and trans men out there, and they deserve space and body anatomy, and honestly, people to keep their nose out of their business because they literally aren't bothering anybody. And I guess give me a segue. I don't know if you have a segue for that.
But it was a hypothetical. Oh, I suppose. I guess it's a hypothetical would be if a trans woman if a trans man, like a man who, you know, wants to participate.
A person who was born female and has become a man. That's what a trans man is. Yes.
Right. Wants to participate in men's sports. Will they stop him? Right.
Yeah.
Even though
nobody talks about that.
Probably has a decided disadvantage, right? Considering, you know, your muscle mass is lower and so forth. You would have to.
The thing is, you end up taking testosterone and you end up being. I've seen that from pretty beefy trans men.
Men aren't allowed to do it.
Trans men. Yeah. I'm impressed.
But is it really even worth it, right? But is it really even worth it? Like I'm saying, the thing about sports is
no, it's not worth it. You don't go through those changes for the sports. No, you're doing it because you feel good in your body, right? You're not doing it to win at sports. No. Yeah.
I'm the winner. Being a winner at sports is constantly
I did all the surgery and this chemical therapy just to win at baseball. Woohoo!
Yeah. Being number one sucks because it can only go down. Think of it that way. So the guys at the top, the people at the top are constantly looking, oh my God, I can't stand being at the top. So it's a lot of pressure. So it's a lot easier to be, you know, one of the contenders. And it pays well too. Anyway, there's your somewhat truncated.
And in a hypothetical situation where somebody's doing that and they're not doing it,
yeah, right. And I sent you a clip.
Okay, I'll get that clip going, and here's our segue wheel for this day in history.
This day in history. We're going to remember...
Limerick time. All right, I'm going to have to write 3 limericks. I at least write 3 limericks for this day in history.
You can write 1. It doesn't matter.
It's
all right. 1808. In 1808, in this day, Jefferson Davis, who became the only president of the Confederate States of America, was born in Christian County, Kentucky. So happy birthday.
Kentucky.
Speaking of wearing dresses, now this is one of your urban legends, or whatever you want to call it. When they finally arrested Jefferson Davis after the Civil War, he was wearing a dress. Oh yeah, he was trying to disguise himself as a woman. And yeah, so what a fitting way for the Confederacy to end. In 1844,
wait, aren't these the people who are anti-trans? Wait a minute. The people.
Yeah, basically they're anti-everything.
They're
Jefferson
anti-freedom.
Davis, I'm Jeffrina Davis. Anyway, 1844, great auks became extinct. Way to go, humans, as the last two known species were killed by a fisherman on LD Island, Iceland. Some sources give July 3rd instead of June 3rd as the date of extinction. Oh well, they're not around anymore. And because humans decided, fuck those birds, they're ugly. Way to go, assholes. You killed
That's the only reason. They don't match my optics. Let's get rid of them.
Exactly. That's exactly where it works. They're eating all the fish. Oh yeah, there's not enough fish in the ocean for you, idiot. Anyway. On this day in 1864, considered one of the worst northern defeats in the American Civil War, the Second Battle of Cold Harbor, which would result in the loss of about 7,000 Union soldiers, began under General Ulysses S. Grant. Well, what's he going to do? The South wasn't going to surrender. He had to go and chase them down. 1904, on this day, American physician and surgeon Charles Richard in the preservation of blood plasma, a lifelong critic of official decisions to separate blood of whites and blacks in blood banks. My God, what a fucking stupid. Oh, well, the blood's different. People are morons. Anyway, Charles Richard Drew was born on this day, and a very important pioneering surgeon and told people to get over themselves. 1926, American poet Allen Ginsberg was born. It's the 99th birthday of Allen Ginsberg. A central figure of the Beat movement, was born in Newark, New Jersey. One of Bob Dylan's best buds back in the day. 1932, American baseball great Lou Gehrig, Lou Gehrig Day was the other day. Yesterday, as a matter of fact, was Lou Gehrig Day. Amazingly enough, it was the day he passed away. And on this day in 1932, Lou Gehrig hit 4 consecutive home runs in one game. That is the first time it was ever done. I think it's only been done one time since. That's not easy, 4 home runs in one game. Even with the live ball era. 1937, some 6 months after abdicating the British throne, Nazi sympathizer Prince Edward, Duke of Windsor, formerly Edward VIII, married American socialite Wallis Simpson and became Duchess of Windsor. They should have given up his title when he became a Nazi, actually. 1943 in Los Angeles, clashes erupted between U.S. servicemen and Mexican-American youth wearing zoot suits. The zoot suit riots, as they became known, occurred during a period of heightened racial tensions in the country, which is basically always in this country. 1965, Ed White emerged from the orbital spacecraft Gemini 4 to become the first American astronaut to walk in space. Of course, he didn't actually walk in space. He can't walk. There's nothing to walk on. He just floated. He floated in space. He floated through
the first man to fly.
Yeah. And he said, wow, right. There was a sidewalk there, amazingly enough. There was a sidewalk already installed. 1985, the talk show Larry King Live debuted on CNN and became hugely popular in part because of King's easygoing interview style. Larry King. Toledo, Ohio. There's my Larry King impersonation. He always says the caller's city he's calling. Scranton, Pennsylvania. You're on the line. Anyway, 1989. Iranian Shah cleric Ruhollah Khomeini, who led the revolution to overthrow Mohammad Reza Shah, the Shah of Iran, in 1979, later served as Iran's ultimate political and religious authority, died in Tehran. Well, whatever. He's a jackass. 1992, a lawsuit brought before the High Court of Australia by Eddie Hoiko Mabo was decided in favor of the Torres Strait Islander peoples and Aboriginal peoples. The Mabo case established land rights for all indigenous peoples in Australia. Well, that's good news. Good news for today. There's some good news in history. There's some more good news. Mel Brooks' musical The Producers, starring Matthew Broderick and Nathan Lane, won a record-setting 12 Tony Awards. Way to go, Mel Brooks, who's still around. Yeah, Mel Brooks still alive. One of the few surviving veterans of World War II. 2006, Montenegro's parliament declaring the republic's independence, severing some 88 years of union with Serbia. Poor Serbia. In 2016, American boxer and social activist Muhammad Ali died at the age of 74. He justified the self-proclaimed nickname the greatest by becoming arguably the most admired and dominant heavyweight boxer in history of the sport. I don't know about dominant. He didn't hold the title.
He was a great example of what getting punched in the head can do to you.
Oh yeah.
He was really not there at the time of his death. He was just kind of existing. Yeah,
if you look at young Ali, was super sharp, super smart, could recite poetry off the top of his head, and turned into a pile of basically mumbling gravy at the end. Our featured event in 1989, pro-democracy protests in Tiananmen Square crushed by the Chinese military. Not exactly good news. On this day, 1989, Chinese government called the military to put down a pro-democracy demonstration carried out by more than 100,000 people in Tiananmen Square in Beijing, resulting in hundreds of deaths. We don't have that. We just have the picture of the students standing in front of the tanks.
Yeah.
And probably that student didn't see the end of the day. Probably, I don't even know. Anyway, our feature biography is Josephine Baker. We talked about her the other day. She was a African-American entertainer. She was born June 3rd, 1906 in St. Louis, Missouri. Had to go to France to get famous because she was black. She died April 12th, 1975 in Paris at the age of 68. So happy birthday to Josephine Baker. She was like the Sophie Tucker of Paris. 1865, George V's birthday. Other birthdays, Tony Curtis. Born at 100, happy 100th birthday to Tony Curtis, famous American actor and father of Jamie Lee Curtis. 99th birthday of Allen Ginsberg. We already covered that. It is the 58th birthday of Anderson Cooper, American television journalist, born in 1967. And Spanish tennis player Rafael Nadal is celebrating his 39th birthday. That's right. He was born in 1986. So, there's everybody's birthdays. We'll go to National Day calendar. It is National Repeat Day. I repeat, it is National Repeat Day. If you didn't hear that the first time, National Egg Day. If you're not having eggs today, if you can afford them, they're a luxury in the United States.
I would recommend not to eat repeatedly 8 eggs today, because you will be gassy. Very, very gassy.
Exactly. Anyway, and it's National Chocolate Macaroon Day. So those are your 3 things today. All your mispronunciations, your spins of the wheel, your stories, your days in history, your ridiculously good news today for June 3rd, 2025 on Before Chocolate Macaroons.
Ooh. Okay, I have your 3 limericks here for this day in history. Let's go with our first one. In Tiananmen Square, voices rose high. For freedom and dreams, they did sigh. But the tanks rolled in fast, all their hopes shattered, cast. As silence replaced every cry. Through hurricanes fierce and wars untold, his reporting would leave many awestruck and bold. Yet in times of strife, he'd show compassionate might, a beacon of hope, shining ever so bright. That's for Anderson Cooper's birthday. And so let us repeat our dreams and make them come alive. It seems for National Repeat Day gleams a chance to relive what it means to cherish life in all its themes. There you go.
Wow.
We've got all of our limericks for today. And let's see if there's any international UN observances. It is World Bicycle Day, the Dutch's favorite holiday, the World Bicycle Day. That's right. Regular physical activity is good, especially in a moderate intensity. Walking, cycling, and doing sports are all significant benefits for health. So if you don't like walking and you don't like doing sports, cycling is a great replacement, and you can go really far and see the sights, and don't forget to wear a helmet. And I know people will say, wait, in the Netherlands they don't wear helmets. It's because there's actually an argument that a lot of people who are in cars are also bikers, so they're very careful around fellow people who ride bikes. Whereas in other places where biking isn't so common, they see you as an obstacle to hit for some sort of point system in Carmageddon or something. Right. So if you don't live in the Netherlands, and I think Denmark is probably pretty safe for biking too, wear a helmet because they don't care about you. They will run you over. Hit and runs, lots of hit and runs in other places. So
he's on a bike. He must be a liberal. Let's kill him.
Or daily biking. World Bicycle Day
that's
with the UN. And this has been Allison here from the Netherlands, Roger from the East Coast of the US. As we tie up another Good Tuesday Newsday, celebrate all of the inspirational things that are happening, all the technological advances, and we are not about to be collided with by the Andromeda Galaxy in 10 billion years. Yay! We will see you tomorrow for Wacky Weird Wednesday, where we'll cover all the wacky weird news we can find this week. So make sure you're subscribed to the Ali and Raj channel, and you have those notification turns on so you know when we go live and post a video. Now, let's go into our, what is it? What is the thing? Something about sting like a bee.
Maybe.
Fly like a hummingbird, sting like a bee.
Sting like a bee.
Yeah.
No, it goes like this. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
Yeah, float like a
hands
butterfly.
Can't hit with your eyes. Well, you gotta let me finish. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Your hands can't hit what your eyes can't see. That's the
mic drop moment.
Right on. There's Muhammad Ali. I don't do a good Muhammad Ali. He had Billy Crystal.
I mean, good for him. The Vietnam War was a scam.
Or go to the army.
The average draftee was 19. Muhammad Ali was 25 when he was drafted. It was punishment.
Justice.
Ladies and gentlemen,
call me a draft dodger, whatever. I'm not going to the stupid ass war for
into the United States
white people who won't treat me with respect.
He refused induction on the grounds of his religious convictions.
Well, they did the same to Frank Sinatra. They drafted him on purpose because he was an entertainer and he was Italian. Right?
For big, powerful America. And shoot them for what? They never called me nigger.
Yeah. Well, I think that's one of his quotes, too. He says something along the lines of, a bunch of white people want me to go to Vietnam and kill Vietnam people. Like, what? They didn't do anything to me.
Just listen to him. Yeah, we just listen to him. He's saying it right now.
He just wonders out loud what would happen if you had 100,000 Muhammad Alis.
Wow, this is a long article.
Prepared to do what Muhammad Ali just did, you would bring this war to a stop.
People read back then. They had a spoon fed to them.
Goal.
It took an all-white
of course, the
jury
ironic
less than
thing
a half
about
hour
a lot
to
of
find Muhammad Ali
black
guilty of all
soldiers sent
charges
over
and
to both the
specifications.
Korean and the
He
Vietnam
was
Wars that
sentenced
they were
to the
treated better there.
5 years in prison and was fined
They're-
$10,000.
I don't know about that.
You
They're
know?
on the front lines. I don't know if they were treated better. They
No,
were
I
put
mean by
front
the
lines
people,
in
by the
time.
people they were invading. They
nothing
treated them
amusing or
better.
interesting or
I don't even
tolerable
know.
about this man.
I know it was
He's
a higher
disgrace to
percentage
his
of black
country,
people
his
sent to the
race,
front
and
lines.
what he
I know that
laughingly
for a
describes
fact.
as his
So
profession. He
I
has
don't
been
think they were
found
treated
guilty.
better. I don't think
He
they were
is
treated
out
well at
Cannon
all.
fodder
He
is
will
what you would
inevitably go
say.
to prison, as well he should.
I'm not going to be your
He's a
cannon fodder.
simplistic fool and a pawn.
Do you share the same concern that Muhammad has for his draft status?
Oh, I certainly do.
Oh, look, he's a
my
simplistic
views
fool
on
because he's
draft are
black.
clear. I'm against it.
And
And
these
I think the
idiots.
sooner our country does away with the draft, the better it will be for
I mean, why would
everybody.
Martin Luther King be like, yeah, let's go to war, let's kill people. Woohoo! He's all about peace.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.